The first story I'd like to share with you is one about using GIS to protect critical wildlife habitat, relayed by Brady Smith, GIS planner, and Mary Kramer, assistant tribal forester from the Confederated Tribes of Siletz Indians from Siletz, Oregon. Now, the Siletz Tribe is a confederation of a number of Western Oregon tribes on one reservation. Prior to treaties and removal, individual villages were autonomous and each one acted politically independent. Tribal members took only what was needed and respected the land, fish, and wildlife. With ample territory for their subsistence needs, villages and populations did not infringe upon each other's hunting areas. These principles allowed the Siletz ancestors to call Western Oregon home for thousands of years. In fulfillment of treaty promises, Western Oregon tribes were moved to a 1.1 million acre coast Siletz Reservation established in 1855. After many years of complex negotiations, the Siletz Tribe was restored to federal recognition in 1977. In 1980, the tribe had 3,630 acres of original reservation timberland and 36 acres known as Government Hill returned as reservation land in Siletz, Oregon. Following restoration, the Siletz have worked diligently to recover as much of their ancestral lands as possible. Today, the Siletz Tribe has managed to acquire additional acres of timberland and real estate through purchase or gift within the original reservation boundaries. The tribe realized years ago that GIS could be an effective tool for land management. In the early 1990s, GIS was used primarily for tracking forest management activities. After a number of years of not having a dedicated GIS person, the tribe reevaluated the value of GIS, and a position with stable funding was created in 2004 that would serve all tribal programs. This resulted in a more centralized approach to GIS, allowing key information to be shared between tribal departments. Today, the tribe's GIS platform provides decision support for the following tribal programs: tribal administration, real estate, planning and community development, fish and wildlife management, forestry, culture, and education. The Siletz people have always tried to protect land, fish, and wildlife for future generations. However, their environmental stewardship was dealt a severe challenge in 1999 when a ship, the MV New Carissa, ran aground just north of the entrance to Coos Bay. Approximately 25,000 to 140,000 gallons of tar-like bunker fuel were lost to the marine environment. The impact was devastating, particularly on wildlife. Over 260 marbled murrelets, a threatened bird species, were killed in the event. As part of a settlement with the responsible party, approximately 4,260 acres of timberland were purchased to compensate the public for injuries to marbled murrelets caused by the spill. The land is located within the Siletz River Basin and consists of predominantly commercial timberlands. The Siletz Tribe was selected as the land manager over 2 conservation groups, and the property was transferred with a conservation easement, restricting activities on the land to create habitat for the threatened species. As part of the conservation easement, the tribe had to develop a management strategy that would protect wildlife habitat while generating enough revenue to maintain the land. The first step was to develop a baseline report for the property. This initial report included information on the property's natural resources: timber, fish, wildlife, soil, streams, and vegetation, adjacent land ownerships, property boundary surveys, water rights, road use agreements, and other relevant management information. The information was collected from various sources, including timber cruises, sample measurements of sections of forest that are used to determine an estimate of the amount of standing timber volume that the forest contains, wildlife surveys, property line surveys, state and county records, and GPS data collected by the tribe. GIS was a valuable tool in developing the baseline report narratives, tables, and maps. It was also a key tool in developing the property management plan. The desired outcome for the management of the property is to have areas that would serve as a habitat for marbled murrelet, as well as areas that would generate revenue for property management activities. To implement this management strategy, a polygon layer with 3 protection area categories, highest, buffered, and standard, and 2 subcategories each, was developed using the baseline information. These protection areas dictate where different types of management activities will occur on the property. Following a review of the baseline report, a list of planned activities for the property was identified. In order to effectively model where these activities would be allowed, GIS overlays were used to guide appropriate zones for various activities, which were referred to as overlay zones. Based on GIS analysis, a final strategy was presented to the conservation easement grantees and the Siletz Tribal Council in the form of a management plan. In addition to the documents developed in support of the final plan, GIS was used during the public outreach related to the program. Large format maps were used to help inform the public about the plan. This helped to effectively convey the tribe's management strategy to the public and to the conservation easement grantees. Now, GIS allows tribal management resource managers to visualize, plan, and monitor future management activities while considering protection areas and overlay zones. It also helps ensure that the management strategy is consistent with stipulations outlined in the conservation easement by establishing the areas that will become habitat. Using GIS helped the managers understand what areas on the property would produce the revenue to manage the property and what areas would be managed as protected habitat. Currently, the geographic information system about this property is stored in a geodatabase managed by ArcGIS Server. Data is used in several different platforms, including ArcGIS Desktop, ArcReader, and ArcGIS Server. It has also been recently incorporated into a web mapping application, which allows for easy access to the data for non-GIS users. Without the use of GIS in this project, the development of an effective management strategy would have been quite difficult to accomplish in the relatively short timeline required. This investment in GIS has also led to new opportunities for the tribe and its resources. The GIS system was leveraged to support a successful grant for habitat restoration on a critical fish spawning stream on the property. The project will provide habitat restoration for salmonids and the lamprey eels along 7 miles of the stream. A helicopter will be used to place nearly 500 logs, half with root wads, in the stream to improve the habitat for the fish. GIS supported the planning of this project and supported the identification of source trees, helicopter staging areas, and in-stream placement sites for the logs. In these examples, GIS provided both a framework to support tribal decision-making and the consideration of various land management strategies, as well as an actionable tool to aid in habitat restoration activities.